you've heard the story of Jonah and the whale. He got eaten by a whale. It wasn't really a whale. It was a great fish, according to the scriptures, but whale, close enough.
This is around 3 days, 3 nights.
Yes, it was 3 days and 3 nights that he was in the belly of the whale. And so I wanted to go back and take a look at Jonah. Jonah's a really short book. It's only 4 chapters, and you could probably read it pretty quickly. So if you're not familiar with the story of Jonah getting swallowed by the great fish, you can read the entire book. It won't take you very long. But for now, we're just going to look at Jonah chapter 1, looking at verse 17. Jonah is in the Old Testament, minor prophets. So it shouldn't be too terribly hard to find. I'll give you a minute to get there. And I'm going to get there myself. I have eSword on my computer, which is really fast because I just scroll down and find the word Jonah and click on chapter 1 and Shazam, I'm there. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, Jonah 1:17 says in King James Version, now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. So when Jesus mentions the sign of Jonah, this is what most people think he's speaking about. But here's a question. Was Jonah alive in the belly of the fish, or was he dead?
He was alive, wasn't he? He was alive.
You think he was alive?
Wasn't he?
I don't know. Was he? Let's look. Okay, so look at Jonah chapter 2, verses 2 and 6. Or I've got 2 and 6. I need to look at 2 through 6. Jonah chapter 2, it says, verse 2, and said, I'll just start in verse 1. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly. And it said, I cried by reason of my affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and you heard my voice. For you have cast me into the deep, into the midst of the sea, and the floods compassed me about. All thy billows and thy waves passed over me. So he said he was in the belly of hell, and we know from our studies before that this word is the Hebrew word Sheol, and Sheol always refers to a grave. So he says he out of the belly, out of his grave, he cried. And it says that he went down into the sea and the waves went over his head. Verse 4, it says, then I said, I am cast out of your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The waters compassed me about, even to the soul. And that soul is the word nephesh. That means his life. He's a living, breathing creature. That word soul. It's not like an immortal soul that a lot of people would say soul. This is his spirit, his being, his life, his breath. So the waters compassed me about, even to the soul, or my breath, and the depth closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped about my head. Can you imagine? He's got seaweed wrapped around his head and everything else. And then it says in verse 6, I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet have you brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. What's it mean to bring one's life up from corruption?
Now see, my Bible says pit for corruption.
Okay. Let's look at the Hebrew word there to make sure we understand what corruption is. In it's Jonah chapter 2, verse 6. King James Version says corruption is the Hebrew word 4480 and Hebrew word 7845. So 7845 is a pit, destruction, ditch, grave, or a pit. So basically it's a hole in the ground. He brought up my life from the hole in the ground, from the grave. So what's it mean when a person's life is brought up from the grave? What is that?
He brought him back.
That's a resurrection, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so if he says he was resurrected in verse 6, then he had to have been dead first, right?
Yeah.
Or was he just buried alive in the pit?
Well, I don't know that the Bible tells us very specifically, but if you look at the pattern That's
Mhm.
that's what I think is interesting. The answer is not clear to that question. Was he alive or dead? But I've come to believe that he was dead, and that he was resurrected when the fish vomited him out onto the beach. Because in verse 6 it says Jonah testified that he was resurrected from the dead. And in order to be resurrected, you have to die. In verse 2 it says he cried out from the belly of hell, which is the grave. So this miracle, the resurrection of Jonah to life after 3 days and 3 nights, must have been what the Ninevites needed to see in order for them to repent, because they saw him come back and he gave his testimony, and he preached to them, and they repented. So this is a pattern that we are going to see repeated in Jesus, because he died, he was in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights, and then he was resurrected after the 3 days and 3 nights.